Hi math class, I hope you all had a great weekend and were able to enjoy the nice weather that we had. So welcome back to another week of digital learning. As you know, this week, this Wednesday and Thursday, you have your next test. So in today's class and tomorrow's class, we're going to be doing our test review. Just as a reminder, your test and your test review will have the same format. So since our test review has 9 parts, your test will also have 9 parts. So let's get started. So in part 1 of your review, you're going to be practicing your multiplication facts. So we can practice our skip counting. So question 1a is 3 multiplied by 3. So we can skip count by 3's, right? 3, 6, 9. So our answer is 9. So what I want you guys to do is to practice your skip counting and finish off all of the rest of part 1. You can pause the video now, and then I'll see you guys in part 2. So in part 2, we're practicing our mixed numbers. So all of those questions will give you a mixed number, right? So if you look at part A, which I have written right here, we have the fraction 26 divided by 5. We know that 26 will not divide evenly by 5s, so we're going to have a remainder, which will be our fraction. So our first step is going to be to find out how many times 5 can divide into 26 an even number of times, right? So we can skip count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, right? If I go one more, I'll get 30. That's over. We don't want to go over. So 5 is going to be our whole number. So right here, I'm just going to put myself a little box. This will help me decide what I have to add. Right, so now I'm going to multiply these two numbers together. 5 multiplied by 5 will give me 25. So now I have to figure out, what do I have to add to 25 to get to 26? Right, I have to add 1. But remember, we have to add a fraction. So this 1 is going to have to be over the same bottom number as our previous number. Right, so it's going to have to be over 5. So our mixed number, or our answer for part A, is 26 divided by 5 equals 5 plus 1 over 5. So what I want you guys to do for part B and for part C is to do the exact same steps we did. First, figure out how many times can the bottom number go evenly into the top number, and that'll be your whole number. Then whatever you have to add to get that top number to what you've multiplied by will be your top number in your fraction, and then the bottom number in your fraction will be the same as the bottom number in the original fraction. So you can pause the video now, work on parts B and C, and then I'll see you guys in part 3. So welcome back to part 3. So for part 3, the title of this section is Missing Numbers. So I'll read the instructions. Using the facts below, fill in the missing numbers in the table. Then make number families to find the rest of the missing numbers in your table. Please make sure to show all of your work. So we have 4 facts, and we're going to use those 4 facts to fill in some missing numbers in our table. Then once we've filled in our 4 facts, we're going to create number families to find the rest of the numbers to fill in the rest of the table. So let's look at fact number 1. Right, so these are the categories that we have for our table. We have bluebirds, blackbirds, and the total for both birds. And then we have Elm Street, Oak Street, and the total for both streets. So fact 1 tells us that there was a total of 196 bluebirds. Right, so I'm going to look at bluebirds, and it's going to be the total for both streets. So 196 will go in the last column. Just like that. Fact 2 tells us that there were 421 blackbirds on Oak Street. Right, so I'm going to look at where it says blackbirds and Oak Street and write 421. Fact 3, I'm going to skip for now, and we'll get back to it in just a moment. And then we'll look at fact 4. Fact 4 tells us that there were 67 bluebirds on Elm Street. We're going to look at Bluebirds and Elm Street and 67. Now let's go back to fact 3. The way that fact 3 is written, we cannot write it into the table. We're going to have to solve for one of the missing numbers. So fact 3 tells us that the total number of blackbirds was 584 more than the total number of bluebirds. Right? So we're going to have to make a number family since we have the key word more. Right? So I'm going to draw it right on the bottom here. Once again, this is going to be for fact number 3. We know that our difference number is written right before our keyword. Right? So it says the total number of blackbirds was 584 more. So our difference number, or our diff, is going to be 584. Next, we have to figure out were there more black or were there more bluebirds. So let's look at fact 3 again. The total number of blackbirds was 584 more than the total number of bluebirds. So blackbirds will be our big number, and bluebirds will be our small number. So once again, we're going to be looking at this column and this column. Right? We don't know how many blackbirds there were, but if we look right here for the total number of bluebirds, we can see that there was 196. So 196 will be our small number. Now what we have to solve is going to be how many total blackbirds there were. So this will be our big number. So in order to do that, we're going to have to add these two numbers together. So 196 plus 584. So once again, we want to start at the ones. 6 plus 4 is 10, carry the 1. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 8 is 18, carry that. And then 5 plus 2 is 7. So that tells us that the total number of blackbirds was 780. Just like that. So now what you guys have to do is we filled in all 4 facts. Now you have to solve for the remaining 5 numbers. So you can make your number families going down, or you can also make them going across. If you're going across this way, this will be your small number, this will be your small number, and this will be your big number. If you're going to go down, this will be your small number, this will be your small number, and this will be your big number. So you guys can work on those now. Make sure to show all of your number families, make sure everything is labeled, and find the remaining 5 numbers. You can pause the video now, and then I'll see you guys in part number 4. So welcome back to part number 4. It tells us that for each multiplication problem, you're going to need to write the division problem and the answer to find the missing value in the equation. So let me write that for you. Right, so you're given a problem as a multiplication problem with a missing number. But in order to solve for that missing number, you're going to have to change the question into a division problem and solve. So for number A, it tells us 5 times a number equals 505. So then what you're going to have to do is make that into a division problem. Right? So we want to find out this. But in order to do that, we have to put it as a division problem. The first number is going to go in front of my division problem. The number after the equal sign, the 505, will go inside of my division problem. So now, just like we've done any division problem, I'm going to start by dividing the 5 into the first number in the division problem. Right? So we're going to start with the 5. 5 divides into 5 one time, so I'll put a 1 inside. Now I'm going to look at the 0. 5 divides into 0 0 times, and then I'm going to look at the 5 once again. 5 can divide into 5 one time. So our answer is going to be 101. So now I can fit this number into the missing multiplication problem. So 5 multiplied by 101 equals 505. So now what I want you guys to do for part B and for part C is to complete the problems the same way. In order to find your missing number in your multiplication problem, you're going to have to rewrite the problem as a division problem, solve, and then you can input that number into the multiplication problem. So you can pause the video now, and then I'll see you in part 5. So in part 5, welcome back, it's going to be a similar process as what we did in part 4, except now all you have to do is solve the division problem. So you don't have this multiplication problem above, all you have is a division problem. So I'll do part A with you one more time for part 5, and this will be the last part for today's video. We are dividing 4 into 368. Right, so my first step is to find out if the 4 can divide into 3. It can't, so I'm going to look at the next number as well. Can 4 divide into 36? Yes, it can, right? How many times? So we can skip count, or you can use your multiplication chart to help you. We know that 4 divides into 36 9 times, so I'm going to put the 9 at the top. And then I'm going to look at the 8, right? We know that the 4 can divide into the 8. How many times, right? 4, 8, 2 times. So I'm going to put the 2 right at the top. So our answer is 92. So what I want you guys to do is to follow the same process as we did in this question to answer parts B and C. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Don't forget that your test is this coming Wednesday and Thursday. And in tomorrow's lesson with Miss Nielsen, you'll be working on parts 6, 7, 8, and 9. So keep up the awesome work, and I'll see you guys in our next class.